Okay, I'll call to order the regular meeting of council for December 13th, 2023, and it is now 7:26 p.m. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Sorry. There, we have two amendments to the agenda. Number 17A, the bylaw should be 32-2024 because it's not going to be done until next year.
Oh,
2024 instead of 2023. And 17B, the policy number should be 2023-02, and we have 2003-02.
Okay.
which one?
17B,
17B.
yeah, but on your actual agenda,
Yeah. It's written as,
it's
2003.
written as,
oh, the gym policy?
yes,
Yeah,
it's written as 2003-02.
2023, it should be 2024.
No, it should be
Say
2023 because we're doing it tonight.
Oh, it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Another page.
I would,
Yeah, see,
That's
it's
fine.
the old three, it should say 2023.
Oh, I see.
I would like the motion to approve the agenda with
We're
those
looking behind the columns.
alterations. I'll second.
Second? Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. All right, so item 3A is the adoption of the minutes from November 15th, 2023 regular meeting of council. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt the minutes of November 15th, 2023.
Seconder? Questions, errors, omissions, comments, going once? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. So, public input tonight. Did we have anybody, any public input tonight? Okay. It was called for, none that I'm aware of. Disclosures Council.
Nope.
Okay, reports, fire department, Chief Kraus, or in this case,
Fixing with their own.
we'll go with
Filling in, yes.
filling in for Chief Kraus. We have,
Steve Johnston. I assume all of you have copies of this?
good assumption.
No, I have a copy. I think we had 19 calls in the month of November. Any questions?
10 MPAs out of 19 calls.
Yeah,
That'll keep going.
yeah, I think we've got quite a few already this month, so.
Wow.
I think total so far, I think we're up to about 256, 58 calls. And last year was about 238,
Wow.
so.
Okay, any questions for Steve?
No.
Okay, we're good. Can I get a motion to receive the fire department's report, please?
Motion to receive fire department report.
Seconder?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you taking the time into your busy schedule to appear tonight.
All right, I'll go back to training then.
Thanks
You're not gonna get away easy, are you?
No, see you guys.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to item 7, presentations. We have a CRSC application for rezoning. The floor is yours, Mike.
So tonight, I'm asking for a resolution from council to recognize or to consider the application, the rezoning application. So this one's a little different in that it was a temporary use given by Prac last year. It's the Mark Bernard. And so you did the temporary use at that time because it was just in between the time where we were going into the new local government reforms. So we didn't have time to process it as a rezoning at that time. So that's why it went forward. So now that his 1 year is up and he has to either remove it or apply for rezoning. So when he applies for the rezoning, council needs to provide a confirmation to the PRAC that you will consider the rezoning. And then PRAC can extend that a little bit longer while we go through the process of the rezoning at the time. So this doesn't set a public hearing or anything yet, I'm still evaluating the application. Questions?
We don't have any,
No, so,
No.
yeah, because there wasn't really anything. So, Mr. Bernard had put in an application to rezone, but because his time had expired, right, from the
Correct, yes.
term, use and terms or whatever, we are just doing a motion saying that we are giving Capital Regional Service permission to move forward with
Yeah.
that application.
Yeah.
So then they will bring back an application and the rezoning, just like we do with all of the other ones, and that's when we will have to change our bylaw, do an amendment to the bylaw and stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
tonight's just consider an application to amend the Hanwell Rural Community Plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the Community Planning Act, there's a section that says, okay, so you've done your temporary use, and now if you're gonna continue, you have to do rezoning, and then underneath that, it requires council to just provide saying that you will consider it, but that's as far as it goes, so.
Okay.
And then we'll start the regular process of,
That seems very odd to me.
it's an additional one, so that I'm not sure why we have to have those subsections, but I guess it does involve, because I mean, PrAC is the one who gives a temporary use. And in order for them to extend it or anything, then council at least has to say that, yes, we'll hear the application. But in some instances too, it could be that use is so, egregious that, council's like, no, we're not gonna hear it. And that's where it's at,
Yeah.
I guess, so.
This is kind of different because it's an expired temporary use.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, so when we get into the it's starting the application, doing the review and evaluation, then council can determine, we'll do the public hearing and all of that as well, so.
Okay. Yeah.
What are we supposed to do
All this
regarding
is,
this now? Just yes or no, allow the rezoning
No, we don't-
process to
No.
application process, or what?
It's just for council to say that, yes, we will consider it, or hear it, and that's it, like, so we can start the process.
Yeah.
Point of
Basically, the
order.
process, sure.
we should have a motion on the floor before we are discussing all of this. This has gone beyond a preamble.
yeah,
Right.
she's right.
Okay, so let's get a motion on the floor and get a seconder, and then we'll have it open to discussion, because,
Would you like me to read the motion?
sure.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Council of Hamel Rural Community directs the clerk to notify in writing the CRSC Planning Review and Adjustment Committee that council will consider an application to amend the Hamel Rural Community Rural Plan made with respect to section 53(2)I of the Community Planning Act on the expired temporary use on PID 75057711.
Okay, can I have a seconder?
Oh, second.
We have a seconder? So motion's on the floor. Do we have any questions, concerns, comments? Councillor Fox?
I'm just curious as to what the expired temporary use was.
So did I not say that?
No.
God, I'm so sorry. Heavens, I'm sorry.
It's
So
all right.
it was a temporary
We're having one of
use.
those nights here.
It was a temporary use for a contractor's yard. So the applicant has two properties side by side, and one is his house, and one he built a garage on, and it was meant to be like a man cave and just to store his stuff. But then it's eventually it started becoming a contractor's yard. So it's not permitted in the rural, and he's in a residential zoning, so he would need to be rezoned. So by that point, like I said, it was too late to move ahead with the rezoning then, so we did it as a temporary use, and that comes with a 1 year, and the year was up in July. So we had done some calls, so he made the application to rezone, which you can do at that point. So this is why, so to rezone it, I'm not sure what that rezoning will look like. I started diving into it yet, and what the staff recommendation would be, I don't even know that yet really either. We haven't done the full evaluation and to send out comments to the province.
Yeah, so this just basically restarts the process.
Yeah, this restarts the formal rezoning process.
Councillor Heisler?
So the temporary use was for a year?
Yeah.
But it's almost been a year and a half now, is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
what okay,
yes,
thank you.
correct.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
My only,
Yeah.
My only
Councillor John,
comment
or
on that
Deputy Mayor
is-
Jonah?
my only comment is, in my opinion, that, I mean, there are issues, for sure, we've had issues with this before. And I think this is a good opportunity to get it resolved, one way or the other. And by looking at it, because there'll be a public hearing, all the comments will be able to come in. I think this is, my opinion, a good way to handle the whole situation.
And, excuse me, correct me if I'm not doing it.
Oh,
Nope. Okay.
we're good.
In the temporary use as well, it's in the report, and the applicant was told at that time as well that a temporary use doesn't mean you get to keep it, or the rezoning will go through. Like, there's no guarantee, it's just because of the processes that we found ourselves in at the time that we did the temporary use. So that's all on him at that point. Like any applicant, it may or may not go through if you decided to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, so.
Exactly.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, now I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded. Motion carried, thank you. Thank you very much for your
Thank you,
presentation,
Tina.
appreciate it.
It's always good to see you guys.
You can stay if you
Tomorrow.
want. You don't have to.
See you tomorrow, will be much more fun.
This is fun. Have a good night.
Thanks.
You too, thank you. Okay, that's 7 building permits. So we're certainly moving along. There seems to be a number of building permits at each council meeting. Detached garage, house with attached garage, another house, commercial building, house with attached garage, detached garage, and an installation of a roof mounted solar array.
Yeah,
And that's over on Bromley Avenue in Hanwell.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay.
Well, now it's fun.
Proclamations, I'm not aware of any.
Nope.
Petitions and delegations, we don't have any. A business arising, donation request from the Tri-County Minor Hockey.
So I'm going to speak to this one. This was brought at last council meeting, and we were to push it forward to this meeting until I got some more information. I have no information. I sent a request, he never responded, so I think, yeah.
I move to receive the correspondence from Tri-County Minor Hockey Association with respect to making a donation to their minor hockey program.
Seconded.
Questions, comments? Nope. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Now, 11B is the Recreation Services Agreement.
Okay, council, so I've given you the new recreational service agreement. As I've discussed, the current recreational service agreement only includes our former members of Hanwell and our members of Ludford. So many people have asked if, now that we are all one entity, if we can sign in on it. So the mayor and I went to speak with Kate Rogers, the mayor in the city of Fredericton, and her team. And the current agreement is actually with Minister. So we had to write to the minister to ask him if they give permission. We received a letter back that he says that he has no authority whether City of Fredericton can let anybody in on their agreement. So they have drafted this new agreement to include all of Hanwell in it. So this will begin as of January of 2024. It will have an impact of 3 cents per $100 of your assessed value of your property. And I have reached out to them today after reading this again. Under section 2, 2.2, it's talking about the terms and termination. So it says either party may, at its sole discretion, at no cost, terminate this agreement without cause at any time prior to the expiration of the term, upon giving 12 months prior written notice of termination to the other party. Then 2.3, it says, if either party terminates this agreement in accordance with section 2.2, Fredericton is entitled to payment for recreation services provided up to and including the date of termination. So I'm thinking that, yes, that is possibly the date of determination. I don't, but I have written to them to make sure that we don't have to pay them to the end of the contract, which is 2027. So I'm just waiting on clarification on that before we sign this document. We did discuss, there were a couple grammar errors in it, and I've discussed those with the City of Fredericton. So tonight they just want to know if there's any questions or anything that you guys are wondering about this. They took it to their council Monday night, and then I would bring back that we are fine with it, except that it just has to be tweaked grammar-wise. And then they will send this to their legal team to get everything perfect, and then they would sign.
Should we be waiting for the clarification then before we make a motion tonight? Or do you think it's still safe to do the motion and legally have it continued under the obvious assumption that we're investigating something?
I think you could give me the authorization to do it if the section 2.2 and 2.3 are clarified and does not mean that we have to make a payment clear to the end of
No,
2027.
I think that's pretty clear though. 2.3 refers to 2.2. So if we terminate, then we have to say up to the date of termination.
Yeah, that's
Is
the way that's the way I would
Yeah,
take
me
it.
too,
When
me
you
too.
terminate,
Okay.
then you don't pay.
Because at first, when I was talking to one of the other counselors, we were like, hey, does that mean up to 2027? And then when I was reading it again, I was like, no, I think
No.
that's
Yeah, it says date of
to the
termination.
date
Yeah.
of termination, but I just wanted to make
Yes.
sure, but I agree, I think it's
Because it
to
says
the date of
termination, not expiration.
Yeah,
termination.
yeah. It refers, 2.3 refers to 2.2.
Yeah,
And we have to
I think
give
we're-
12 months notice if we're
yeah,
going to terminate.
so I think that we are fine, but just to.
Where are we gonna go with the double payment on that?
So that would be worked out. So for those residents, many of our residents have to pay, say, for hockey use, they usually pay for that in October. So they've already paid for the whole year. So we're trying to figure out like what we're going to do for those, like will it be us that reimburse them, will it be City of Fredericton, or how that would be done. That is still in the works. We just kind of want to get this in place and then us and.
But if we're
City
gonna
there.
reimburse, it's not allowed for in this contract. Because if
We-
we're gonna reimburse, we gotta, you know, again, we're not gonna give Fredericton the money that we're gonna reimburse. Like, basically, they've already paid October, November, and December, but in their tax bill, they're gonna pay for the full year. So they're paying it twice, basically, not the whole amount, but a portion of the agreement they're paying for twice. Councilor McKenzie.
Right quick before the motion's made, because I'm gonna make a motion, as to one point of clarification, I believe, that they didn't pay us for it, so it should be this, the negotiations between the residents that pay for that should come from the city,
City
not
of
with us.
Fredericton.
It should-
Yes.
It wouldn't make sense for the city to pay us and then us pay the residents, and they're in control of what was
No,
paid.
we paid the city,
We pay the city.
But the
And then-
residents paid the city
Yes.
too,
yes.
not us,
Yeah.
so.
But
So-
when we talked about that, the Fredericton city, they weren't too keen on writing refunds.
Right. So what they were thinking is that they would figure out how many people that impacted, and we would withhold that amount of money from the payment.
Okay,
But
To
it doesn't
City
say
of
that in the
Fredericton.
contract,
Doesn't say
that's
that.
the only thing I'm concerned
Yeah.
with. So we could add to the motion to, you know, possibly get in there that there will be a holdback. They're not gonna pay it. They said they weren't interested in paying the refund back. So we've
Again,
gotta
point
get
of
it.
order,
yeah, I'm gonna make the motion right
we
now.
need to have the motion in
Yeah,
place.
so whereas Hamwell residents and the residents of Ludford currently are covered under the Recreation Service Agreement with the City of Fredericton, and whereas the Kingsclear Local Service District was amalgamated with Hamwell effective January 1st, 2023, and whereas all residents of Hamwell should be afforded the same level of access to recreation facilities and services based on the same costs, and whereas Hamwell shall pay the City of Fredericton an amount on an annual basis equivalent to the amount of money that would be raised through the property tax of 3 cents per $100 of assessment of Hanwell's tax base entirety of Taxing Authority 175. I hereby move to authorize and direct the clerk to execute the recreation service agreement between Hanwell and the City of Fredericton to commence as of January 1st, 2024 for all residents of Hanwell, pending the clarification of the double payments.
Second.
One second.
All right, questions, concerns, comments?
I'd like to pose one question.
Sure.
Have they provided you with the number of residents that utilize the services?
Yes.
And what the actual cost is going to be to Hanwell itself?
So, I can provide to you. This is the numbers that they had given to us. So, 2023, it says purchase recreation cards. And then it says Island View, summer was 7, winter was 3, Kingsclear 12, winter 1. And 2023 recreation cards is part of current RSA with Hanwell. So Hanwell has 234 total people, and this includes field and ice, as they have yet to be broken out. Also, some summer user groups have yet to submit their recreation cards. So the amount that will be remitted to them will be $326,115.
$326,000.
$115, based on our tax base
For 2024,
for 2024.
And we have a total of 234 people utilizing?
I believe that is just like the Hanwell Ledford was the 234 possibly, and then these other ones, so we're still only at about like 270 people, 260 people.
270 people. So essentially it's a cost of about $1,000 per person.
And in hockey, I believe it's right around $800 a person.
I can speak to
Okay.
that one actually. So the current fee, if you're not with the recreation services agreement for ice sports, would be $888, and that includes your HST over and above regular registration.
Councillor Lecter.
Just a comment. I would take the numbers from previous with a grain of salt. There are a lot of families that I spoke to when I was going door to door who will take advantage of this because they could not afford $888 prior. And it's a little easier to swallow, I think, paying property tax for some folks. So just food for thought that there will be a lot of families who take advantage of choosing Fredericton rather than another area because of this.
Agreed.
Councillor McKenzie.
So another thing to note too is that these numbers are only for the purchase of the full season rec cards and stuff. There are many services that are provided under the rec agreement that don't require the cards. Like for example, registration for swimming, okay? When you go to register for swimming, like at the indoor pool and so forth, if you're doing lessons, there's 2 different prices. There's prices for people that are in the services agreement area, and there's prices for people that aren't. And it's got nothing to do with having the card or not. That's time of registration. Same thing for softball. I coached softball for many, many years in the city, and there's different rates for registrations for people that are in the services agreement, people that are not in service agreement.
So just to clarify on that though, these are numbers that people are registered for, not necessarily just the rec cards, is my understanding.
Oh.
So if they've been registered, that's how the city would be able to get these numbers.
Because the lists here are purchased recreation cards.
If you've registered for a sport,
Right.
generally they will give you a card.
Okay, the chair recognizes Councillor Briglow.
Yeah, I'm just really surprised at the low numbers, but I think there's an explanation for that. But is there a plan to communicate this across the community, that this is now available? And I think, like you say, there'd be families that will be interested if they know. So,
Yeah,
I just hope there's a plan, whether communicated somehow, that, I mean, people wouldn't automatically know about this. They'd have to become aware of it somehow.
I think we can put that out possibly on our social media and our
Social
website,
media.
get it out there.
Hamel
Figure out.
Herald.
Yeah,
Have to know.
yeah.
The chair recognizes Lee, Councillor Kurtz.
Also with, when we're talking the rink as far as hockey goes, Hamill's now, like the whole of Hamill's now in 2 different hockey organizations. Because so the FYHA will cover most of us, but some, like the kids out in Marshall, some on my end go to, are over in Keswick Ridge just because of the boundary. So, but I've had a lot of people ask me about whether it was coming or not too, so.
Chair recognizes
Councillor Holt.
Councillor Holt.
I'd like to comment that Councillor Greenwell brought forward information, accessibility of that information to the residents of Hamilton. I brought forward the dollar value per person. Okay, strictly, again, it's cost. And if council thinks that in turn this is going to increase the number of Hanwell residents, kids, etc., utilizing what Fredericton is offering us, then it makes sense. But
Okay, the chair recognizes Councillor Heislip.
So just a comment on that, I did have a gentleman contact me from Kingsclear who was extremely upset about having to pay the extra $888, especially for 2 children. So he wanted to know why we weren't opted in already. Once we became Hanwell, why wasn't all the services going to be there immediately? So of course that's the whole municipal reform and all that explanation. So that would explain why these numbers though are extremely low, right? Because if you're paying almost an extra $2,000 for 2 children on top of the already registration fees, you're looking at, possibly $3,500 or more plus equipment plus whatever. So it does become cost prohibitive for many, many people. So I think you will see a change in these numbers for sure.
Yeah. Just looking roughly at the numbers too, if you figure out like $888 per kid, you'd have to have about 350 kids to utilize the $326,000 that we're paying through the taxes. So, we should sit down and kind of do a study on that and see which way is more beneficial. If it's only 225 kids, well, we're paying almost double. So we'd be better off for council to pay that outright to those families possible. Anyway, Councillor Heislip.
So just on that note, when you're looking at the 888 extra, that's for your winter sports, your summer sport. Your summer is not calculated into that.
That's what we'd have to have a look at to do do like a cost and benefit analysis to see which way actually works out better. Councillor Deckelman.
I was just going to say, I think in this contract there is something that talks about the reassessment. So I think we will be looking at numbers. There will be numbers provided to the community on a yearly basis. Am I correct in saying that? That we will get the numbers at least and be able to understand those and then decide if.
Yeah.
Because supposedly the way it is right now, it's supposed to be every 5 years that they are supposed to give that. However, the committee, the advisory committee or whatever, is working on that and has suggested that possibly every year, which really makes more sense for.
Just on that note, yes, so they have it there in a spreadsheet and we were told the other evening that there's no need to have it every 5 years. Moving forward, municipalities should be able to get it every year, so.
Yeah, that's the only way we can do an analysis to see if it's to our benefit or not, so, yeah, for sure. Okay.
My comment on that would be, we're also into 2024, it expires in 2027, it takes a year to get out of it. By the time you do your analysis, I don't know if it's really a benefit for us to do that.
Councillor McKenzie.
Just my last quick comment here on the analysis. The problem with that idea is that you're doing an analysis based on the amount of people that have been using it in the past, in a growing population that we don't know
Right.
what our residents are changing, and how things, past use does not necessarily predict future use. And it would be I think it would be short-sighted to say, we don't have enough to break even with the amount of people that are utilizing it, we should get out of the contract, because we can't predict what's gonna happen in the future with it. This is providing as a public service that people are able to utilize, and it's equally applied everywhere in the community without having to create extra work for the residents. That's the way I see it.
For sure. Well, Fredericton has a great amount of recreational facilities that we don't have. So this recreational agreement of 3 cents per $100 of assessed value gives everybody, every resident of Panwell, the opportunity to use the city's recreational facilities. So when you look at the big picture, it's most likely a pretty good deal. Councillor Hope.
You're saying that reassessing or whatever, again, Darren brought back, or Councillor McKenzie brought up a real pertinent point, is that this is the information of the dollars and figures presently. What is it going to be looking like next year?
I think we should have a look at the numbers possibly at the end of the year 2024.
We in turn go out and put this out to the public, make them aware of what's available constantly, and see in turn what the residents of Panwell decide they want to do.
Just exactly. Councillor Heislip.
Just to note that it ends, the shared recreation services agreement will be ending in December 2027. So we will have to make a decision at that point whether or not we were going to be signing a new agreement.
Yep.
So that would be, I think, the ideal time to make some sort of analysis.
Yep, for sure. Just keep it on the back burner. Councillor McKenzie.
Yeah, if we do an analysis leading up to that point, then we should make sure we have an education and awareness about it to make people aware of the fact that this is available to them.
Yeah.
Because there may be people that are just not utilizing it because they don't know about it.
Most likely, yeah, for sure. Councillor Hope.
Again, providing information to the residents. This is again another perfect example that we might be able to utilize the school in some fashion in getting that information out to the families. Not only Panwell Park Academy, but the other schools as well.
Yes. Good thing to do for when the kids return to school in January, like have that first week, just have it.
I think that'd be an operational thing.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right,
Beat this one to
I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried, thank you. Okay, item 12, correspondence. We've got a donation request from the Fredericton Community Kitchens. Anybody want to speak?
I move to accept the correspondence from Fredericton Community Kitchens with respect to making a donation to feed the hungry and authorize and direct the clerk to make a direct donation in the amount of $500.
Seconder? Questions, comments? Councillor McKenzie.
Since this is our last meeting of the year, what do we have remaining in the budget for donations for this year?
I should have looked.
It's,
I don't know. I know that we still have funds left. I could go look it up really quick.
If because there's another thing that's going to be following this, then so I suppose the question would be that if we do it slightly over, do we have the leeway elsewhere that we can?
Oh,
still be fine?
absolutely,
Okay.
because yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so got a motion and a seconder. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried, thank you. Donation request Fredericton homeless shelters. Do we have anybody speaking on this or making this motion?
I'd like to move to accept the correspondence from Fredericton Homeless Shelters with respect to making a donation to help with their continuum of care model and authorize and direct the clerk to make a direct donation in the amount of $500.
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item C, email from resident of Hanwell traffic light. I need a motion to receive the correspondence.
I move to receive the correspondence from a resident with respect to the traffic lights at the crossroad of Greens.
Second it.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, meetings and special events, the mayor's report. Has everybody had a copy of that? I had the, just be a verbal, because I had a meeting yesterday that I had on my report, that due to the constant demands of having these reports in earlier in the week, I didn't have time to get a report in, would have missed the deadline. So I'll just give you a verbal report right now. It was the Public Safety Committee, it was December 12th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Most people come in by Zoom rather than attend in person. And the decisions, or the information out there was there was going to be a representative from the Department of Health joining the forum. That's the Public Safety Forum. So we've got representatives from probably 14 different organizations there now. So the Department of Health is going to have a rep on there also. And the next forum presentation will be public safety. And the group talked about that, and everybody knows public safety is involved, this and that and the other thing, but really nobody knows just exactly what they're involved in. So we're looking forward to having a presentation of public safety. And of course that'll be broadcast live on the internet if anybody's interested in listening into that meeting. So that's a report from the Public Safety Committee meeting. So any questions on the mayor's report?
Just one question on what you just mentioned about it's being broadcast live.
Yep.
When?
At the meeting date, which I don't have, but I will let you know.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Did you actually move to receive the mayor's report as presented?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Age-friendly committee is on hold. The emergency measures meeting November 22nd. I'll ask our CAO to report on that.
Okay, so council, you have the committee report, and this will also be on our website. I'm not going to go through it, whatever, so, but if you have any questions or comments, you can.
I had one question.
Yes.
So you mentioned about kind of like sending out information to the Yoho Lake asset questionnaire.
Yes.
Are you doing that with the rest?
No, this wasn't, we weren't. The Yoho Lake Association actually sent out a survey.
Okay, but will we be trying to self-identify or identify those that are vulnerable within the rest of Hanwell?
Yes, that is already part of.
Individual residents?
Yes.
Oh, individual residents? No. This survey, they had just asked different questions like what type of equipment you have, if you are a permanent resident, seasonal resident, if you've had any training, if you can be self-contained, stuff like that, so.
Have they actually sent it out yet? I've not seen it.
I believe so. Walter Bidlake said that he had forwarded it to me and said that they were sending it out.
Okay.
I don't know if,
I haven't seen
like,
it, but
when,
maybe.
or whatever. As far as the EMO committee, we have a list of who we consider like vulnerable, like the nursing homes and different stuff like that, but individual people, we don't. That could be, I know during COVID, we had put out kind of a little request, if you need any assistance, please contact our office so that we would know that you did. Do you want to?
Well,
Councilor Brightwell, yes.
just to add to that, there was quite a discussion at the EMO committee about individual vulnerable people. And it there was a lot of differing opinions on it, and I know that New Maryland does something similar to that. They have a system where they have identified some vulnerable people, but they have a very small community too. We're 250 square kilometers now, and there's potentially hundreds of vulnerable people out there, different levels of vulnerability. And if you identify those individuals and say, we will provide you extra assistance in a situation, it puts a lot of responsibility on Hanwell, and as a committee, we didn't feel the resources were there to respond to that. I mean, if we say we're gonna do it, we kind of own it and we have to do it, and we didn't feel comfortable, and maybe council feels differently, but that was a thought process on the committee, that we just didn't think we had the resources to respond to individual households like that.
Councillor McKenzie.
I think we should get, again, a motion on the floor, because I'd like to respond to that actually. So I'd like to move to receive the EMO committee report as presented, and I'll have a question if we have a
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, so the question I would have then would that be, in addition to the resource issues, I'd have concerns over where we would maintain such a database and what kind of issues that would have on things like privacy legislation,
Yeah.
personal information, protected bee information. There's lots of concerns and regulatory requirements to have that kind of information. Perhaps New Maryland has the ability to take care of that. I would have a concern that if they don't, then they probably should look into it. Or any other municipality that does such thing. But I don't think that we have the resources on hand to be able to handle such what's called sensitive personal information. And I think that we should not get into it any further than a generalization of if you require assistance in the event of emergency, contact the office,
Yeah.
and not maintain a database.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to advertise that out there pretty hard, so people will be aware that if there's an emergency call, they have a number to call somebody. Councillor Heisler.
I agree with what you're saying. All I was wondering is if we know of people that are, I mean, obviously they would have to self-identify and they would have to ask us for our assistance, right? But I was just concerned that this is going for one area and not all of Hanwell. That was, I guess, my concern with this. But so you're saying it's the Yoho Lake Association that's taking on
Yes.
this task?
Yes, like they sent it to me.
So are they going to be responsible then for people in emergency situations?
Yes, no, so what they're going to gather this information and then we are going to get together with them and see. So it's no different, like if residents down there gave them a list was compiled of equipment, it would be the same thing as the list that we have for EML with all of our contractors with equipment. So if there's an emergency in Hanwell and we need a boat, then we could look at our list and say, okay, Joe Blow, so-and-so, they all have boats.
Right.
And we could, so
Which
it's very generalized or whatever.
But to Councillor McKenzie's point, they're asking if they would like someone to check on them. So
Yeah,
are
so,
they taking
so
that on?
if that is
Okay.
what that association,
Okay.
wants to do, that's,
Okay.
that would
Just
be
double
them.
checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as we're not maintaining the database
No.
of that. and stuff.
No.
Okay.
And we're not making any commitments
Promises.
to help
No.
people out.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess my only comment on it is I really, in a case of emergency, I really don't care about privacy, to be perfectly honest. If people want to put their name out, they're perfectly willing to, they're obviously giving you their information. But I do tend to agree with the fact that, I have 2 points. One is that how do you maintain the list, because people come and go, move, whatever. Also, then what happens when you miss someone, if, they're not on the list. So I'm not really in favor of having the list in that regard. As far as privacy goes, in an emergency, who cares? You need to find them.
Councillor Lepage.
Just, I had asked for clarification on that point as well, and I definitely understand the point of view of not, wanting to be concerned with everybody and having, resource depletion and all of that. And the one thing I'm thinking, if we're communicating to the community in general, about knowing where to reach out, would be to also be prepared, right? It's not the community's responsibility to be sure that you have blank, blank, blank. If you have something that depends on power, say, what are you doing for yourself, or, that sort of thing. So it's, I hope, if they can't back that up, then maybe they would reach out, like I don't have money for blank, blank, what do I do? So we could support folks, but, being prepared is important, basically.
Yeah, that's why
Right,
they
like-
pushed the 72-hour self-preparedness.
Right, yeah, and eventually the plan will be able to support that too.
Councillor Briglow.
Just one last point on that. The other strategy that we talked about on the committee was that if we can communicate through social media or whatever means to say, check on your neighbors. Just give a really strong shout out and say, check on your vulnerable neighbors.
Exactly.
And that's one way to at least help.
And
Yeah, so when we started the EMO committee, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
When we started the EMO committee, we had a thing that, always know your 4 neighbors, your 4 closest neighbors, and to
Yeah.
really watch out for them, so that is something that we really need to get back to.
And I think there, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there will be lists, like they say, the Old Lake Association has taken it upon themselves to do a survey. The churches will know a lot of their volume, I mean, the information, some of the information will be out there anyway, so I mean, I don't think as a municipality that we should be keeping it.
Councillor Fox.
We might want to look at ESIC in terms of, I believe that they have funding available to hold, they're essentially almost like a street party, but the idea is you gather your neighbors around, you get to meet your neighbors, you get to know who your neighbors are directly in your community, and be able to kind of put together, you're not really creating a plan, but you're recognizing who may need help in the community, and the idea of this is to build that sense of community so that you know who your vulnerable neighbors are, who may need help, who has what resources to be able to help or be able to check on people. But my understanding is that there's funding available, so that might be something that we want to look at in each of the, kind of for each of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, to encourage those folks within the neighborhood, if there's funding available, just to have some kind of an event where they can get to know their neighbors. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? All those in favor of receiving the report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried, thank you.
There isn't.
Okay, Environmental Stewardship Committee is on hold, and we have the, okay, there's the, no Finance Committee report, Governance and Policies meets as required, Infrastructure and Parks Management meets as required, Mattoquac Community Liaison Committee meets quarterly. I don't know when their last meeting was, I think that's when.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I don't believe, well, there's nobody on the committee anymore
Yeah,
that sits
yeah.
on that. I mean, if I could put my name forward
Yeah.
for that.
So I suggested at the last meeting, if nobody came forward from lives up that way, I could serve on it. But if Councillor Briglow wants to serve on it,
Well, no, go ahead.
fine by me.
Knock yourself out.
No, I think it's good that you're live handy to the area and you understand the neighbourhood much better than I do. So if you want to step up and serve in that committee, we can certainly look into that.
And I think in January, the first meeting, we do have to sit down and we have to get those committees reestablished. We need to get all those committees with people on them.
Yeah.
So that'll be on the meeting, in the meeting for January.
So we could probably maybe do that all in January when
Yeah.
we do all of the committees.
Yeah.
However, just to go back to the Mattoquac, Councillor Briglow and I went on a meeting that had to do with the dam and what would happen if we had an emergency, a breach to it and stuff like that. So that was it was quite a eye-opener. I didn't for this meeting do up a summary of what we had
The PowerPoint
discussed.
came around after, so that could be shared.
Yeah, so they did do a PowerPoint that is for the public. They had a PowerPoint that they went over that couldn't be shared, and then they did a public one. So that might actually be something we could just put on our website. And then anybody that is interested, but it was a really good meeting. So we will do that.
Okay, rural plan review meets as required.
Just one point.
Yep.
My name is not on the committee members that was accepted.
And did I not change it on the minutes?
Yeah, and we're kind of late now. We already approved the minutes.
I thought I changed it before today.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, the copy I got. Doesn't matter.
I'll get the clerk to
Well,
check
I'll
the latest
fix it.
copy of the minutes.
We'll fix it.
Okay. just one other point on the committees. The website really needs to be cleaned up. If you looked at the website for the committees, there's old councilors' names on
That was
there.
fixed,
Oh, just today?
yesterday.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
See, things are happening. Okay, so moving on to item 15, the CAO Treasurer's Report.
Okay, so once again, you have my report. It wasn't very long for the CAO report because we have been mostly in budget mode. The Upper Kingsclear kitchen, as you could see the other night during our fire department awards ceremony, that is 95% done. We're just waiting for the doors on there. Garbage and recycling tenders we have already covered in the meeting. The MOU has been signed and we are getting many groups that are interested or whatever, so Taylor is getting them all booked in for 2024. And I said our Remembrance Day service and open house tree lighting, both of these events were very successful. And I just wanted to thank Nick Way for catering the Remembrance Day service, and to Mayor, Council, and my staff for all the hard work that you guys have put in. So then into the Treasurer's Report. The revenue that we have collected on the tax levy, the one that we received was from September. At the time, that was $11,393, and I was talking to them, and they had missed October, so they're going to be putting in both October and November here in the next week. Interest for the month of November was $11,237.69, and we received our HST remittance for July to September, and we got a refund of $31,091.28. Our expenses, none of them were ones that were not budgeted for, so therefore I do not have any payments over $5,000 that aren't budgeted, so. And this report also will be on our website.
Can I get a motion to receive the Treasurer's Report?
Yep, since there's no actions to take, I'll move to receive the CAO Treasurer's Report as presented.
I'll
Second it. Okay, questions, comments? Since there's no question or comments, can I have a motion? Sorry, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary, none. Motion carried, thank you. Okay, older unfinished business, the rec building, I don't think there's nothing to report on that since our last report, and the rural plan progress report.
No.
I don't think there's any up to date on
We were
anything
supposed to
new.
meet last night and enough number of people canceled, so.
Okay. So, new business, we have a bylaw 3223.
Four.
Oh, yes, it's gonna be
24.
2024, I guess.
So,
Yeah, I'm
just
busy
to give
reading.
you an update on this, currently the Minister of Local Government looks after unsightly premises for Kingsclear, the prior Kingsclear area. So now the Capital Regional Service Commission is able to look after our unsightly premises. So in order for them to look after that, we have to do a bylaw. There is no cost for the Capital Regional Service Commission to do this. It is already calculated in as part of what we pay them annually. So we will, tonight, the bylaw hasn't been written yet. This is just giving notice that we are going to want to take on that service. So we will do the first reading by title.
Yeah, so I'd like to move that bylaw number 32-2024, a bylaw respecting dangerous goods or unsightly premises, be given its first reading by title.
I'll second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried, thank you.
Bylaw number 32-2024, a bylaw respecting dangerous or unsightly premises.
Thank you, Councillor McKenzie. Item B is the Jim Reynolds D policy 2024,
No,
No.
2023. Hamel Park Academy Gymnasium booking procedure and regulations policy.
Okay, so you have the policy and there were a couple of grammatical errors that was noted. Taylor did make those changes. Is this the copy of those changes? Do
Yeah,
they have the
that's what
amended
that
copy
is.
with them?
They should.
Okay. So I had asked previously if there was any questions in it so that we could have them answered before council, and we didn't receive any except for just the grammar ones and stuff, so. If you don't have anything, then we would like to get this adopted so that it will be in place for January for the new.
There needs to be there is one grammar issue
Okay.
on drop-ins.
Drop-ins.
I don't know where.
What page?
Oh,
Oh, right
page
there.
2.
Second page.
Yeah.
Okay, participating Rural Community drop-in offered at Animal Park Gymnasium. Users 18 years or younger must pay $2 per participant, whereas uses,
Oh, users.
Oh, okay.
Reserves.
Yeah.
you might see this.
So I move to adopt the Hamel Park Academy Gymnasium booking procedure and regulations policy 2023-02 as amended.
I'll second that.
Questions, comments? Councillor Dowse, no? All those in favour signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried, thank you. So item C, approval of 2024 budget.
Okay, so with the budget, I had provided you with 3 scenarios. So I just took those 3 scenarios and actually provided you the correct wording for the motions. So anything, obviously we made a motion to accept BMI, so anything with Pharaoh, you can kind of cross off, so. I did 3 scenarios, 1 sharing all costs equally except for the power, with the power meaning streetlights. So Oswald Gray has streetlights and then certain areas of Hanwell have streetlights. So those rates are there under scenario 1. And then scenario 2, this one was sharing all costs equally except for the streetlights. And then with capital projects and expenses, accepting $100 for the welcome signs removed. So if you recall, we had put in for the sound system under capital, the welcome sign, the 3/4 ton fire truck, and where's that sheet? What was the other one?
Capital transfer for the fire truck?
Oh,
also?
no, that was in there, so there was the welcome sign, the fire truck, the sound system. I just brought in these new ones. Councillor Heislip, do you have that motion, like not the motions that are printed off tonight, but in your package? I had them all listed
On my
on
computer?
your computer. Sorry.
I was like, what are you asking me to do? So in the agenda package, we're
Yeah.
looking at
Under the
project budget? No, not that one.
budgets, or did I?
You didn't give it to them.
I emailed it out to you guys separately.
Right.
It's not in the package yet.
Why can't I remember that last one?
Actually, regardless, we can look that up later, because I'm actually prepared to make a motion and justify why doing so, and we can put it in a discussion phase for it. I'd like to be resolved, this is to certify that on the 13th day of December 2023, the Council of the Rural Community of Hanwell resolved that the sum of $4,258,675 be the total operating budget of the rural community, and that the sum of $3,649,726 be the warrant of the rural community for the ensuing year, and that the tax rates for the rural community be as follows: Hanwell, 0.3365, Hanwell Streetlights, 0.3582, Kingsclear, 0.3365, Oswald Gray, 0.3624, Ludford, 0.3365, and that the council orders and directs the levying by the Minister of Environment and Local Government of said amount on real property liable to the taxation under the Assessment Act within the rural community of Hanwell, adopted this 13th day of December by the Council of the Rural Community of Hanwell.
I'll second that.
If I may direct immediately, and the reason I'm going for the one that includes all capital projects as we have previously discussed at the finance meeting, because I don't think that we should be putting anything off. I think that kicking a can, so to speak, down the road just ends up with a bigger problem later on. We budget things accordingly as we think things need to be fixed or replaced or upgraded in advance, so that when these things do come up, we have the budget for it available. If we don't, then it's a scramble, something else gets canceled. You see it all over the place, places that don't properly budget things. We've done the right thing up to this point of properly budgeting for capital as we go along. Not everything gets built, but at least we're budgeting for it. I think this would be a bad time to start breaking that process and start cutting costs. That's my comment on justifying why I made the motion.
That justifies why I seconded it.
Okay, there's two more scenarios on there, so I'm going to open the floor for questions right now.
I just have one question. I agree with what Darren is saying, but there was a mention back in one of the other options about giving a grant for these signs. Why wouldn't we do that anyway?
We will, so actually, there was a grant that was available for the transitions through local government. I had sent out an email a while ago asking if that grant was still available. Didn't hear back from anybody. When we were at the UMNB conference, they had mentioned that everybody should still apply for it because their year end is March 31st or whatever. So I have put in for the welcome sign, the asset management, the HR consulting, strategic plan. They said that we could also include any furniture that we received for counselors. So I put in for the desk that we purchased. I put in for the computers that we ended up buying for the new counselors. What else did anything and everything that I could think of. And the welcome signs I also put in. So we just found what the fourth capital item was, and it was those mini splits for the fire department. So,
but regardless, I think it's a good idea that we continue to do that, and therefore, if we don't end up having to, but if we don't end up getting it, we still have to purchase the stuff. So we need to budget for it, and then we can move from there.
Yeah, for me, Mr. Chair, I agree. We can't budget under the assumption that we get a grant. You budget under the assumption that you don't get the grant, and if you do, then great. You have funding available to go into reserves or operational or whatever. But you shouldn't be planning on something that the grants for that could disappear overnight. Something could happen to the provincial government. It's outside of our control. We need to budget for things that are inside of our control, not for things that are outside of our control.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Holt.
There to me makes perfect sense. In turn, if we do get the grants, that's fine. And in all likelihood, we probably will, but again, there's the what if. And again, you look at what is it actually gonna be, and you can't take in consideration any ifs, whats, maybes. It would be nice to reduce the tax rate even further, however.
Councillor Heisler.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, just reviewing. Councillor Heisler.
So my only comment is I agree with that because we have been turned down for a number of grants. We've applied and haven't got them. So we have to be able to budget for them without saying, yes, we're gonna get a grant. If we get the grant, that's fantastic and wonderful, but unfortunately, we have no guarantees, so I think it's the right thing to do.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion that's on the floor, currently on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. So item F,
Nope.
No, D.
no, sorry, D.
Don't we wish?
It's emergency.
Oh, sorry, EMO emergency plan.
I'm just gonna, just quickly, just comment. I only provided a copy of the emergency plan for myself and Councillor Bringlow, because we're not gonna be, you guys just, if you guys have any comments, you're gonna let them know what they are. Other than that, this is gonna be moved forward anyway.
Yeah. So with this emergency plan, the one that was provided to you originally, Councillor Bringlow has updated some of the comments that was brought forward. Councillor DeCleva had many comments that were wonderful, being from her background. So we have put those in the plan, so we have amended them. Our question is, we're not bringing this forward tonight for adoption. We would really like to know if there's any further questions that you may have, and we will do those. There was one section, we have the Red Cross MOU in it, and it has our previous clerk as one of the contacts. So I'm going to actually reach out to them tomorrow and just get that amended, so that when we meet in January, we can actually bring forward everything that would be kind of clean. But keep in mind, this is a living document, and as our committee works on different sections of it, we will probably be bringing these amendments forward. But for right now, we just wanted you guys to be able to see the plan, see how our committee is working, and then we will continue this month to make those few other tweaks, and then in January, hope to bring it back to you. So if you have any questions, or if you find anything, or can think of anything that we should have in it, if you could bring them forward. I think what I would do, our EMO meeting is usually the end of the month. I think I will actually bump us up so that we can meet as a committee before we have our council meeting, or whatever.
So what's the deadline for information or feedback? Is that like a week before council in January?
I would say like maybe the end of the first week of January, possibly, so that
It'd be nice to have a week to
do it, and then we could take those amendments to our committee,
Okay.
and then bring any changes back and to the council meeting. Councillor Heisler, oh, me. Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Heisler.
So can I just make a suggestion? So I know you didn't print it out for us, but when it's sent out, and I understand it's PDF, but if you want some amendments, it's easier when I'm reading it for me to go through and look at it and highlight it, or you know, say it
put
needs
it in a Word
clarity. Say,
document?
yeah, can you put it in a Word document? Because as PDF, it's just really hard to do it. You end up having to make comments separately.
It's next to impossible.
But it's 30 megs.
Right, but
Won't go through an email, I don't think.
can you zip it and send it?
Possibly.
If not, we could always Dropbox it. We could
Yeah, could do that.
upload it to Dropbox and then send a link, and then everybody can just open the link and then.
There's gotta be a way to get it out electronically to people.
Yeah.
It's just a Word document.
Yeah,
has
It should
to
work.
be email.
I don't know what's running up the names on it, there's a few images, but it's a pretty big document in Word.
We'll try,
It
yeah,
just makes it a lot
yeah.
easier.
Yeah. And pictures might not compress as much as a file either, because if it's JPEG, they're already compressed to death. So it's not right, might not get much smaller. So the Dropbox is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, we'll figure it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Or shoot.
I can do that. I just, as long as I have your version of the most updated Word document, I can send that in a Dropbox zip file.
I can bring it tomorrow.
Councillor Fox?
I'd just like a hard copy, please.
Okay, I can do that for you.
As would I.
Me too.
Okay, you can all have what I'll do, anybody that wants a hard copy, send me a message, I'll put it in your mailbox.
There. Easily determined. Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, moving on, the hotel surcharge tax levy, item C.
E.
Sorry, E. Put my glasses on, and there it is, E.
Okay, so, a few months back, we did a motion, to reimburse, the Radisson Hotel for this Inspire ROI. This is their advertising and marketing program that they use. But we had said that we would only do it up until December 31st. So I was speaking to Doug Johnson, the general manager, the other day, and he was saying how well this program is working for them. He said that they can show like how different reports and stuff of how much more exposure they have got because of this program. So he had asked if we would extend that again for next year. So these expenses are paid, they remit to us the tax levy, and then we pay those from the tax levy. It is my recommendation, he said that he would like to do a report or a presentation to council or whatever. So I thought before we say yes or no, I think it would be nice to have Mr. Johnson come in January and do a presentation to you guys, and then you can make that decision after the presentation and you see the actual reports. So I provided you 2 motions, and you guys can choose whichever one you wish.
Councillor McKenzie?
If we're not making a motion tonight to extend the plan, I don't know why we need to make a motion just to have him do a presentation. We can just ask him to do it, and then at that time make the decision whether we want to extend it or not.
And that's what I was thinking too, we don't really
Don't
need a motion.
Yeah, I don't need a motion, just.
Okay.
Just get
I
it,
was
make a
just-
presentation.
I was just figuring that we need a motion where there's
Okay?
we have rentals tonight.
Okay.
I just thought that we need to bring a motion forward because you guys said December 31st, so that's kind of like, I thought that we needed to bring possibly some type of action forward.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. If we're gonna extend it, it'll be extended in January, it might be the January council meeting anyways.
Okay.
And we'll have the presentation either at the council meeting or
Sure.
whenever he can do it, hopefully he can do it by then. Because it's to his benefit to do the presentation and get us on site.
That's right.
Okay, so we won't do any type of motion
Okay.
tonight, and I will contact Mr. Johnson and see if he will attend our January meeting.
Perfect. Okay, so moving on, item F, the Regional Aquatic Center.
Okay, so with the pool, I provided you a document with the analysis. This is for your eyes only. This cannot be shared with public, okay? So, at the last meeting that I attended, I brought your concerns back that we had the group here with regards to the 50-meter pool. And I said that we really wanted a 50-meter pool. In order for us to do anything, we really need to you need to give me direction of how you would like to move forward with this. So I asked them, wasn't able to attend the last meeting that they had, and all the communities kept asking what Hanwell planned on doing. So if Hanwell backs out of it and just says tonight, we're done, we want a 15-meter pool or nothing, then because this is a regional pool, they need all regional members on it. Wow. Right? So our commitment, no, just 1 second. So our commitment when we did the motion a few years ago and gave the money, we said that we would only do the architectural design phase. And that is the phase that we are in right now. So the motion that I have provided to you is just saying that we have only agreed to the architectural design phase. That's all we are committing to right now, is that phase. And we said that it was contingent on the advisory committee coming back with cost, governance, ownership, and stuff like that. So this committee has met, and they are going to, should have something back to us like in the next week or so on that part of it. So my thing is that we say that we will continue with our agreement, that we will just do the architectural design phase. We've already paid for it. However, we want it on record, if this is what you agree to, that we are interested in a 50-meter pool if all of the other partners decided that they wanted to do that project as well.
You're talking about in your motion, you're saying if all other, but the motion says if other, so this should read if all other, by any
No,
chance?
if other participating entities.
Okay, you just mentioned that all others, so
Yeah.
Well,
we verbally said all others,
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if
okay.
that's gonna follow what? Do you want all others, or just want others?
well,
couldn't
to
be
be
here for all?
regional, it has to be.
everyone anyway.
So it should be all others, okay.
Before the motion's put,
Yeah.
before the motion's put forward, was there not concern there was some diving consideration to the Aquatic Center?
I
Yeah.
move to suspend the rules so we can
Discuss this.
discuss this prior to
Yes.
the motion.
I'll second the suspension motion.
Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, okay, the rules are now suspended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, if I recall rightly, there was concern that in these particular diagrams, there was no mention or no plan for a diving area in these particular forms, and that was one of the main concerns.
They are
It's
there.
in there.
It's in there.
It's there, they do have diving.
Just as a point of information, be very cautious about what we say at the moment because of the numbers and stuff. This is not a public document yet, so just be cautious.
Yeah, I believe there is a diving tank there somewhere.
There is.
Okay.
Anything else, anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, so, before a motion is made in this, because it's important, though I was willing, I've been, yeah, thank you for not counting out. I'm not warm anymore. I would be willing to amend it potentially, depending on what the motion is that comes out of this. But, it'd be interesting to see what other thoughts are on this, that with if we're all actually kind of in agreement, if we're all in agreement that the 50-meter pool should be the requirement, not supporting it, I think we should be spelling that out explicitly in the motion to do so. And that's a tough pill to swallow, I suppose, because that basically would say then it's all or nothing, that would only be in if it's a 50-meter pool. So I guess the thought is, should we be giving consideration to that when we make this motion, because the way the suggested motion from the report is listed, it would basically say that we prefer 50 meter, but we don't care if it's only 25. Is that really what we want? Because this is a one-shot deal, remember, of making this. This is a very expensive building. It's a generational building. So this isn't gonna happen again, certainly not in my lifetime while we're here. We only have the one shot to do it right. I think we should be doing it right in planning for how the future may end up, again, you can't plan what's happening in the future, so you take the most that you can into possible consideration of things that could happen, right? Just like we talked about previously, early in the meeting with the budgeting, the plan for what you're in control of. Here we're potentially in control of making something that has more options for future use than if we're restricting ourselves to the original proposal. And with the presentations that were made to us, it seemed like most of council, I'm talking to the chair, I don't want to look anybody else in the eye on this break to you, that it seemed like most people were on board with it. So I'm just wondering if when we make the motion for this, should we be taking this into account for what we want? Of course, it'll be the majority of council that will pass it if the motion passes or not, or it gets amended. But I just caution what we're motioning for tonight for the direction of this with words like supportive rather than required, or specific things that we may have discussed in the past.
You would like to explain a little bit?
Okay, so remember that this advisory committee, the RAC committee, they still have to do the ownership. They still have to do the cost. They are still doing the, once the architectural design is done. So they may come back and say, you know what, like, after looking at all the specs and everything else, maybe the 50 meter is better. If cost-wise, they might come back and say, you know what, we can do more, so maybe the 50 meter. So there's still that option. Right now, it's just saying that you guys are still in agreement to continue on with the architectural design of it.
Okay.
As far as, but I just thought that you guys probably wanted on record that you guys are interested in a 50. If you put out that it is kind of 50 or nothing, that means the 25 is not moving forward because we are out. If we're saying we're only going to do 50, then that means there's no pool, because it cannot be a regional pool without our support as well. And also keep in mind, when the agreements were done up, there is significant costs, a penalty cost, if we opt out. So still a lot of money would have to be paid, kind of thing. I think that they just need to know that we are still on board for a pool. And we will still consider the 25 if that is how the committee and everybody else comes back and said this is the only thing. I know that from our last meeting, there was 3 municipalities that said if they did a 50 meter, they're backing out.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So if we kind of say that we're only going to do a 50 and not even consider the 25, and at the last meeting, there was 3 communities out of the 5 that have said, you know, we are backing out, then there's going to be no more pool. And how much life does the Aiken Center actually have left?
Well, at the RSC meeting, they're continuing forward with the 25 meter, because the mandate was for the 25 meter. We voted to sign in to contribute to the 25 meter pool. The 50 meter pool, it looks like to me from what they're saying that, you know, the ship has sailed on the 50 meter pool. It looks like it's going to be a 25 meter pool or possibly nothing. So there's not a whole lot of support out there. Not 100% support out there for a 50 meter. And that's what the RSC said, definitely they're moving forward based on the 25 meter, because that's all they were mandated to look at, there was nothing else. So that was the bottom line. Anyway, Councillor Heisler.
So I have a few comments to make. So Fredericton and the Capital Region has needed a pool for a very long time. So it was identified in the city recreation master plan way back in like 2009. At that time, it became a priority because the Sir Max Aitken pool was supposed to be closing in 2013. So they've kept the Sir Max Aitken pool open for the next 10 years since then, because they've allowed for, you know, filtration system, they have assisted with funding for all of this stuff. But the Sir Max Aitken pool is not going to sustain itself much longer.
For all intents and purposes, it's done.
So I've been a very, very strong supporter of aquatics. My girls they've done synchronized swimming, they've done diving, they've done fast, they've been involved in all of the aquatic sports at both recreation and competitive levels. My concern with this is the 25 meter seems very, very short-sighted. There's been so much more information that has come to light, even since the last feasibility study was done. So I know, for example, that trying to get into swim lessons for little ones, it's virtually impossible. There's waiting lists upon waiting lists. They are booked up the minute they come out. So I really feel that in this scenario, we're not being a funding partner. We're just a funding source now. I would really like, when they did the last feasibility study, the 50 meter was taken off the books like that, right? It was basically felt there wasn't enough, they didn't have the numbers, they didn't have the population, they didn't have to do or even look at a 50 meter. But what we're hearing now, and with the presentation that came on board, was that there is a lot of support for a 50 meter pool. I was in the city this weekend and ran into somebody that used to be in the diving club, and we talked about the pool, and they're the same. A 25 meter is just not good enough, and it's not good enough for the capital city. If we want a regional aquatics facility, it should be a 50 meter pool. Because what I don't want is in 5 years, them coming back to us and saying, oh, the numbers have changed. We want another 25 on the north side. That's my thinking, that that's what's going to happen. So, to be honest, I'm fully support saying what we would do. But I really feel a 50 meter needs to be looked at. And for other municipalities to say, oh, no, we're out, then that's tying our hands too. So anyway, those are some of my comments.
Just a quick point of order, motion to extend the meeting past 9 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor of extending the meeting past 9 p.m., say, please signify by raising their hand.
Aye.
Contrary minded? So we're going past 9 o'clock if need be. So, what is the suggestion then from Councillor Heisler? Where do you want to go for this? I mean, I understand your points, I understand what you're saying, but what are you suggesting the council do?
Well, I certainly will, like I said, we'll continue to respect the agreement with the architectural design phase. But I would ask that they take a look at the 50 meter pool. That we respectfully are asking that they look at the
Okay.
50 meter pool.
I think we can add that to the resolution, or the resolution of the without making any big waves. We're just asking them to look at a 50 meter pool. Councillor Briglow.
I agree with what Councillor Heisler was saying, but as a new councillor, I have no understanding of the financial impact on Hanwell here if we go with that 25 or a 50, so.
We don't know
Okay,
either.
so
because
we don't know either.
The cost hasn't come in, right? So this is just, all we're doing is contributing to the design phase of a 25 meter pool at this point in time. but we can say that we're still going to continue with the 25, the design phase, but we can ask if they want to consider a 50-meter pool. But that's probably as far as we can go. Anything else? No. Councillor Hall?
Terry had mentioned, I know she doesn't have to disclose it, won't disclose it here, but you said there was a significant financial cost for us to back out of this whole.
Yeah, and I don't know if that, I don't think that means like us as in Hanwell, I think that means us as in the group, because if we
Us as in the
don't
region.
have,
The regional.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we don't have everybody, then there's going to be that.
It's interesting information that I wasn't even aware of. I might have been, but I have a memory of a goldfish, so I probably remember
That's
it
the clay.
4 years ago when we started discussing this.
I just, real quick, support Councillor Heislop and what she said. I really think the partnership, the committee is what needs to be remembered here, and I have concerns that the sort of all or nothing leaves the whole discussion off the table. Unfortunately, this plan has taken longer than people thought it would, maybe. You know, we've had a lot go on in our province. I don't think that can be ignored. Things weren't moving as quickly as they maybe could have been, so unfortunately, what seemed okay maybe at the time, which I doubt then was okay, is not okay anymore. So I think at least we could very kindly say, you know, we respectfully ask that the 50-meter pool be, you know, considered, because I am a community member and a parent, and I stood in line to fight for swimming lessons this year, and it should not be something you have to fight for. I do not have the ability to take my children to every open swim, right? So, you know, swimming lessons are an important thing, and it should be something that you can very easily access, and you cannot. I was on a waiting list and was, you know, ready to beg any parent in the parking lot for their spot. So, yeah, I want that opportunity for other kids too.
Councillor McKenzie?
I wonder if one way of wording this possibly that would still say that we would prefer the 50, but not kill the project if we don't get it. I wonder if wording it something like along the lines of continue to respect the agreement with the architecture design phase, but will be supportive of a recommendation of a 50-meter pool. If other not all, if other participating entries were in support of the project.
Yeah, but you have to, like I said, you have to have all our, it's a regional pool.
I
so everybody has
realize
to buy
that, but
in.
that's, if we explicitly word it like that, and I hate to be political in a politics thing, but it's being political that we wouldn't be the one that kills the project. We're recommending something, if someone else doesn't do it, that they're killing the project and not us. We're still on, I want this project to move forward. I desperately want this project to move forward. Even though I have no kids involved with this, nobody in my family's involved with it. It's just something this region needs for long-term planning. And that's the thing that seems to be missed by the design group of this, that it's long-term planning, not 5 years into the future planning. If we worded it like that, to me, of course, we require the way it specifically says, whoever moves the motion forward, that way seems to suggest that we're not going to kill it if we don't get what we want, but this is really what we want. Do you know what I mean?
Like I said, we can add a recommendation to our motion.
Supportive of a recommendation of a 50-meter pool.
Or we can just say we recommend a 50-meter pool.
I have a question.
Because whose recommendation are we supporting if we're going to support a recommendation? So we would have to recommend.
We would recommend, okay.
Okay? Okay, you good?
I'm good. Is there any other questions?
Councillor Fox?
Yeah. He has one, I have one.
Yeah, I just, so I think I'm probably echoing what others have said around the table and what I've said before at previous meetings. I do feel that when I was a brand new councillor, we first got started on council is when this presentation was made, and it seems to me at that time, and I could be wrong, but if I'm remembering back, it seems to me that we as a council felt like we were kind of being pushed into this at the time. In fact, I believe Councillor Mackenzie might have read something into the minutes about where this was going. So, and I remember very clearly asking the question why we're not doing a 50-meter pool and not really getting a response in my mind. And again, I'm just trying to remember back to a couple of years ago when we did this. It seems to me that I'm the same. I don't have any kids in swimming and I'm not a swimmer, but this is something that we need. It's something that we need in the region. And I just look at how, you know, other, I'm gonna say regional facilities that we have been undersized and not allowed us to be able to do anything at a provincial scale. You know, and I think about arenas. You know, there's 2 arenas in the region that are larger arenas, but neither one of them's large enough to accommodate major junior hockey, for example. So if we're gonna build a pool, I think we need to build it right. And we need to think, as Councillor Mackenzie has pointed out and Councillor Hyslop has pointed out, we need to think about the future and where this is going down the road. And so I'm very supportive of the motion as suggested by Councillor Mackenzie with a recommendation involved. And I think we honor what we have agreed to honor at this stage. That doesn't mean that we have to move forward. And I think that it's our obligation to the residents of the whole region, not just the residents of Hanwell, but to the residents of the whole region to build this thing in the right way. And if other municipalities are saying that they don't want it built, in my mind, that the right way, then, you know, that's on them. That's not on us. I think we have to do what's right, and the right thing to do is to have the right facility built. Thank you.
He basically stole my thunder. But no, I guess my point is I don't feel that we need to be concerned by saying what we want. You've already said there were 3 other communities that have said that if you don't do what we want, then we're pulling out. And so therefore...
I don't think that's official. I think that's hearsay, would it be?
Yeah, whatever.
I don't think they have any official writings of that or whatnot.
No, probably not. And then that's fine. But I mean, we can only speak to what we believe in. And so I don't think, I'm not really sure about the wording of your motion. Like I have, the wording just kind of got away from me there a little bit. But like I say, I don't have a problem with us continuing with the design phase. Although in the end, if we go through the design phase and they're only designing a 25-meter pool, and we know that we're not going to move on past that, you know, that's all we've committed to. And sorry.
No, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, no, that's just my comment. Is I don't really have a problem with saying that we want a 50-meter pool.
Yeah, because we've only committed basically up to the end of the architecture phase. We'll have to have a new motion at that point once we get the financing
Yes.
decision
Yes.
for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unanswered questions, yeah, for sure.
That's right. And with that said, if Councillor Holt has the last question,
Go ahead.
I'm prepared to make a motion for this and put my neck under the noose. But
Okay.
whereas at the July 7th, 2020.
Hang on,
No, wait.
Councillor Holt.
Okay, I wasn't aware that Darren was gonna make the move. I'm thinking you're very good with words, okay, and you have brought out a particular point. This is for lack of a better term, a generational opportunity. Is there any way of structuring that thought or that wording into this motion? In the sense that,
Yes, there is.
Whilst that's happening,
Councillor Heisler.
how many other participating entities are there?
There's 14 in all.
14.
No, there's not 14.
Well, there is now. There's 14 local governments in the Capital Region Service Commission.
But they're covered by one. I think they only,
Yes.
There's just
like
one
the
seat.
LSDs are all under one. They have one seat at this committee.
That's
Yeah.
right. But
So-
all the other local governments would have a say.
right, so there's only 5.
No, there's 14. Harvey, Gagetown, not Gagetown anymore.
Arcadia.
Grand Lake, Arcadia, Fredericton, Oromont, I know there's 14.
Maryland.
Oh,
Yeah,
Apparently,
they're not on any meeting.
yeah.
if there's no other comments before, I would like to make a motion. Whereas at the July 7th, 2021 special meeting of council, a motion was made to contribute $76,167 towards a regional aquatics facility for the design phase only, being contingent upon A, financial participation by all other local, regional, and senior government jurisdictions, and B, an advisory committee being set up to determine the shared ownership model, governance, operations, and funding model, and et cetera, and whereas a presentation was made to council at the September 20th, 2023 regular meeting by an aquatic user group showing the possible benefits of a 50-meter pool, I hereby move that Hamwell will continue to respect its agreement with the architectural design phase, but would recommend a 50-meter pool for this project, as this is a generational opportunity that we do not want to see lost.
Seconder.
Second. Beat me to it.
Questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Upcoming activities, Christmas closure. The office will be closed from December 22nd, 2023 until January 2nd, 2024. Date and time, location of the next meeting, it would be January 17th, 2024 at Council Chambers here in Hemel Place at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to
Move
adjourn,
to
please?
adjourn.
Yeehaw.
I'll second.
Second? Okay, we're good.
All right.